Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And in today's episode we are back with some more news and updates, and we got some exciting stuff such as another developer bringing the 767 to the simulator. Stick around to find out all the details today, guys. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started with today's news and updates. So first off, we have Aerosax has released the Tecnam P92 Echo Classic for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, this is a twin-seat Italian single-engine high-wing aircraft, much like our version of the Cessna 172 or 152, you know, this high-wing series of the Cessnas. Very, very similar. Now, one of the things that I'm really happy to read about this particular aircraft, it has a fully interactive cockpit. Every switch, lever, door, circuit breaker, etc. is working, as well as dedicated custom sounds. Now, the thing that I really like about the dedicated custom sounds, but obviously you never really know until you're in the cockpit and hear it, but one of the things that I like about reading that is hopefully that means that they have really gone through to make the sounds as immersive as possible. I state in many, many videos that to me, sound is just as critical as anything else, and if you don't have the sound, well, you're missing just about, you know, one of the bigger key to it. I think that sound is very often overlooked, is where I was going with that. One of the other cool things about it is you can also switch very easily from analog setup to digital with the Garmin GTN 750. Both the basic and premium versions of the GTN 750 are supported, so you don't have to purchase it if you want to take use of at least the basic functionality, which I would say for most flight simmers, honestly, it does get the job done. You may be missing out on a few things that you'd like to experience, but of course, always check that out if that's something that you're interested in. And then obviously the flight dynamics are something that they don't mention much about here in the changelog, but it's something that I'd really like to get my hands on and check out, and I think we're going to go ahead and try this one. Simply because it's nice to see a different aircraft of this class reaching the simulator. The Cessna 172s, 182s, etc. are a lot of fun. I would actually like to see a really good version of the 182, actually, now that I mention it. But anyway, I digress. So it'd be kind of fun to see what this aircraft brings in comparison to the 172, 152 series. Now, you can pick this aircraft up from the sim market at 19.99 euros. So make sure that you guys take a look at that if this is an aircraft that you are interested in. Again, it's definitely got my attention. I'm going to see what it's all about. So if you guys want, you guys can absolutely wait until I do my review on the channel. Miltech Sims bangs on the door with an update to the MV-22 Bravo Osprey. So biggest thing is that I'm really happy about is they've done some major texture improvements to the aircraft, fixed quite a few impacts where, for example, the glass was actually breaking through the framework and just standing out quite a bit. But they've also done quite a bit with the cockpit itself. Let's go back to this previous picture here, and you can see that the shading and there's quite a bit more depth to the aircraft. Now, the good news is I already own this one, so I'm definitely going to be checking this one out and doing a review on it over the next day or two. We'll see the Osprey airborne in the channel here, maybe see if we can get a little bit more advanced flying going on than what I've done in the past. It'd be kind of fun to simulate some sort of combat exercise, you know, maybe rip through the Grand Canyon or something with it and deploy troops at the end, you know, obviously simulated. But the changelog includes a missile approach warning system as modeled, and a FLIR camera. The FLIR camera model was improved. Now, my thing about the missile approach warning system is, I mean, cool, but maybe I'm missing something. How are we supposed to hear that? Maybe there's a feature here that I'm unaware of, but I'm not sure where we would encounter a missile warning to begin with. So I'm kind of curious about that one. That seems sort of irrelevant to me in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but again, maybe I'm missing something. Furthered the exterior and interior modeling improvements. Again, this is where the part I really liked and caught my attention. I started looking in pretty deep. Is a redesigned cockpit model, landing gear, cargo bay, and ramp doors. So pretty fun stuff there. I'm obviously just as big into sounds as I am into textures. Now, we just talked about sounds, and sound improvements have been added, as well as a sound issue during the startup that has been addressed as well. Loud wind noise speeds at over 250 knots have been added. And then the flight path marker was incorrect in previous versions. It wasn't something that you could actually use in a practical situation. It sounds like that has been addressed as well. So I'm sort of super excited to check that one out as well. Sort of super excited. Not quite super excited, but sort of super excited. And the reason why that's a big one to me is I actually haven't seen a whole lot of flight path markers in the simulator that work very well. I mean, aside from the standard aircraft, I'm referring to most of the military aircraft that are in the simulator. I've noticed that they're sort of hit and miss whether or not they're on point. The larger aircraft, you know, our commercial fleet, they seem to work just fine. So don't get me wrong on that. Anything that's using, for example, the G1000, G3000, G5000, your Boeing aircraft, the Airbus, you know, I haven't had any issues with those ones in particular. But I'm just talking about the third-party military aircraft. The flight path markers always seem to be a little untrustworthy, I guess is the best way to put it. So they've done a bunch of other improvements to the aircraft as well, so make sure that you guys do check it out. They have also made sure that now the aircraft is recognized by air traffic control as a V-22 or Osprey. So if you are someone who is very commonly using air traffic control, that'll add a bit to your immersion experience. As always, guys, through Orbix Direct, this aircraft can be updated using the automatic installer. So very simple process there. And if you guys are interested in purchasing it, again, over at Orbix is where it can be picked up very easily. Now, you guys are already aware of the Bluebird Simulations Boeing 757 coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator, but we have developer Lunar Simulations announcing a freeware Boeing 67 for Microsoft Flight Simulator that has been in development since October of 2021. Now, here's how they're actually going to do this. This is still a very awesome undertaking. I'm super excited about it, and here's why they win this one for me is it's free. Okay, they're not asking any money for this, so keep that in mind as I make these next statements. The Lunar Simulations Boeing 767 will also be working with the Salty Simulations mod that is used very heavily, for example, in the Boeing 747. That will provide the functionality for autopilot, the PFD, upper and lower ECAS, and some of the other cockpit systems. Now, the reason why this doesn't faze me at all and it doesn't bother me at all is because as long as everything else inside of the aircraft is legitimate to a Boeing 767, it doesn't have to be, not every aircraft that we get has to be fully modeled, fully functional, authentic, study level, dare I say the words. They just don't to me. I will absolutely take a freeware Boeing 767. That is awesome. I think it's wonderful when developers are willing to put forth that kind of effort and then bring it to the community, because the thing about these freeware add-ons and stuff, these guys could keep it to themselves if they wanted to. They don't have to share it with us at all. So I'm super excited about this. And they're already boasting some things like including a realistic flight model. So they are stating that the flight model is going to be realistic to the 767. High quality 3D cockpit, as well as exterior, high resolution textures, a custom EFB, accurate performance data, realistic systems and avionics, fully custom sounds, effects, and more, according to the article here. So they're boasting all of this on a freeware aircraft. This is like the announcement of Flybywire A320 all over again. We don't have any kind of release date or any kind of release information as of yet. Hopefully it's sooner than later. This would be a very exciting aircraft to have, especially in conjunction with the 757 on its way into the simulator. Again, hopefully within you know, a reasonable amount of time. We don't have a release date on it either. It'd be nice to have the pair. I was saying that on our last video where we talked about the Bluebird 757. I was talking about how it'd be nice to have the 767 along with her. And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, here we are. So I'm really excited for it. And, you know, I think it's bold of them to talk about realistic flight models and accurate performance data. And that is not to say they can't do it. But like my thing is, if you're going that route, charge us for it. I would pay for that. It doesn't have to be an exuberant amount, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. I'm actually trying to sound the exact opposite here. So I hope that didn't come across crappier than I think it did, because I really didn't want to sound across crappy at all. But that's just Very kind, very cool. So super excited about it. I love the images that we're seeing so far. The cockpit looks absolutely fantastic. So cross your fingers, guys, that this keeps progressing, and maybe there's a place that we can donate or something to, because I would absolutely donate to this kind of project. All right, so next up, we're going to talk briefly about Just Flight and their AI traffic add-on, because they are really turning some heads, kicking some tail, and doing some damage here. So in the screenshot here, we have the default offline traffic, okay, AI traffic turned on here. Okay, now if we move over here a little bit, now this is an announcement they've made. Here we have the default live traffic, okay? Now, so default offline traffic, they're showing 40 frames per second here at London Heathrow. On live traffic, they're showing 55 frames per second. And then with FS traffic, they're showing 62 frames per second. More modeling, more aircraft, almost double, according to the article that we're reading here, of AI traffic that has been injected at London Heathrow, and they're getting higher frame rates than what Microsoft Flight Simulator is able to give us by default. Okay, and both offline and online. That's crazy. That's like they are really focusing very, very hard on making sure that they get the frames per second into a reasonable area for me or for us. And the cool part is this, all these specs, guys, you're probably thinking these are being tested on a 4090 or something like that. They're not. We have a Ryzen 7 3800 XT. So that's the same processor I have. An RTX 2080 Super. Okay, so they're still using the 2080 series, and it's not even a 2080 Ti. On 32 gigs of RAM, and then the NVMe M.2 solid state drives. So they're not using some super high end, ridiculously overpowered, computer to run this stuff. They're using a pretty, I would say, very general machine here, and with an outdated video card and honestly outdated processor. The 32 gigs of RAM is definitely very nice, but heck, I've got 64 gigs in mine, and I'm not pushing these. So, and I'm running a 3080, and I'm not getting that kind of frame rate. So they really got it dialed in, man. So I just wanted to do a quick announcement on that. I thought that was a really cool update, and it brings me a lot of excitement as far as the potential future for AI traffic. Really looking forward to this one. We still don't have a release date as of yet, but the team says, quote unquote, the release is imminent. So make sure to stay tuned. There's also a YouTube video on Just Flight's channel about how to do a quick setup for FS traffic. So it is right around the corner, guys. Super excited. This may change the whole game. But these frame rates, again, 62 frames per second at London Heathrow, and look at all the AI traffic that we have on. I mean, I don't know if the image is fully shown here, but the airport's almost full. And this is fantastic. So super excited for this one. Navigraph Charts version 8 in-sim flight panel is now available. So we were all talking about Navigraph Charts 8 and how incredibly awesome it was, and but many of you were really bummed out that it wasn't available in the in-sim panel. That has now changed. You can now go through the Navigraph data manager or installer, or just go to their website, and you can now actually have it installed directly into the sim back on the toolbar where it used to be, and then have all of the features that Navigraph Charts 8 had. It is an incredible tool, guys, for flight planning, navigation, monitoring, you name it. It's a wonderful piece of equipment. I have been subscribed to Navigraph for, gosh, probably 6, 7, 8 years now, easily. And I use it on every single one of my IFR charts or IFR flights. So it's a really, really awesome tool that I highly recommend. It does require a subscription to Navigraph. I can't remember what it cost me a month. I think it's like right around $10 if that. But very, very handy if you're someone who is constantly looking at the Jepson charts, who wants some live navigation and monitoring. An easy flight planning tool, integrates with SimBrief. Especially, you guys got to remember that now Navigraph owns SimBrief. So you got the two components combined in one. It's a really, really awesome chart or flight planning system. Does significantly more than the things that I've described here. Again, I have a video on it way back in the day. If you guys search my channel for Charts 8, you'll find it. where I break down a lot of the really awesome features. The new UI is just clean and very slick. Anyway, so I wanted to let you guys know that it was now available for the in-game sim panel as well. Stay tuned to the channel today, guys. We have one more video that is going to be released today, and that is going to be on the Next Level Racing HF8 haptic feedback seat cushion, if you will. For those of you who don't know what haptic feedback is, it's basically, so like, for example, an example of haptic feedback would be when you land on the ground, you feel your wheels touch down, you'll actually feel that in your chair through vibrations and different pulses that happen to the chair. They have released it. They have given me the ability to do a review of it, and I'm going to show you guys how it works with Microsoft Flight Simulator, as well as give you some tips and tricks in using it with other products. So stick around, guys, for that one. Again, hopefully that will be out later this evening. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. I was very pleasantly surprised at something that, to be completely honest with, I was very skeptical with when I first heard about it, because I really didn't think that it was going to create the immersion that it did. So be on the lookout for that video later tonight. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.